Heaven does not pause for everyone, but today it paused for you. Right now, in this very second, while the world keeps spinning and billions of lives keep moving forward, eternity leaned down and whispered your name. Not the name the world gave you, not the name spoken in your moments of failure or shame, your real name. The one written in the archives of heaven before the foundations of the earth were ever laid. The one that carries a weight of purpose so profound that even angels have rehearsed its pronunciation. Heaven knows who you are, chosen one, and today, heaven stopped everything to speak directly into your life. This is not coincidence. You need to understand that before you take another breath. You did not stumble upon this message because of an algorithm, because of idle curiosity, or because you had nothing better to do. Those are the explanations your natural mind will try to offer you, because your natural mind was not built to comprehend the movements of divine orchestration. But your spirit knows better. Your spirit was already leaning forward before this even began, because something deep inside of you recognized the frequency of heaven calling your name again. There are billions of people on this earth right now, billions of scrolling thumbs, billions of distracted hearts, billions of searching eyes, and yet, out of all of them, you are the one who was brought to this specific moment. You are the one who stopped. You are the one who stayed. That is not small, that is enormous. That is heaven exercising its sovereign authority over the chaos of your daily life to say, I need you to be still right now, because what I am about to release over you cannot be received while you are running. So stop running for just a moment. Breathe and understand that what is happening right now is holy. You are not like the rest, chosen one. You never were. From the very beginning, there was something different about you. Something that set you apart in ways that the people around you could see, but could not always explain. You may have spent years wondering why you never quite fit, why the circles others moved in so effortlessly always felt slightly wrong for you, why your thoughts ran deeper, your feelings hit harder, and your hunger for something more never seemed to be satisfied by the things that satisfied everyone else around you. That restlessness was not a flaw. That restlessness was a signal. It was heaven's way of keeping you from settling too comfortably in a place that was never your destination. God did not design you for ordinary. He did not knit you together in your mother's womb, number every hair on your head, and breathe his own breath into your lungs so that you could simply exist, go through motions, pay bills, and fade quietly into the background of history. No, you were engineered for impact. You were assembled for assignment. Every quirk, every sensitivity, every depth of thought, every moment when you looked at the broken things of this world and felt something burning inside of you demanding that things be made right. All of that is evidence of divine craftsmanship, preparing a vessel for a very specific and very irreplaceable purpose. And today, heaven decided it was time to remind you of that. Because you have been through something, haven't you? You have carried something that most people around you did not see and would not have understood even if they could see it. There have been seasons in your life that felt like the silence of God was deafening. Seasons where you prayed and the ceiling seemed like stone. Seasons where you did everything you knew to do in faith and the circumstances of your life did not move the way you believed they would. Seasons where you watched others around you receive their breakthroughs while you stood still in the waiting room, wondering if your name had somehow been skipped. But hear this clearly. You were never skipped. You were never forgotten. You were never an afterthought in the mind of God. What you interpreted as divine silence was actually divine preparation. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. God was not absent in your hardest seasons. He was the most present he had ever been, working in the hidden places, rearranging things you could not see, closing doors you could not reach, opening pathways you had not yet discovered, and most importantly, developing something unbreakable inside of you that could only be forged in the fire of difficulty. The fire did not destroy you, it defined you. And now, right now, at this very moment in your journey, heaven is moving on your behalf in a way that is about to become visible. The things that have been shifting in the spiritual realm are about to manifest in the natural. The answers you have been praying for are beginning to take shape. The miracle you have been waiting for is not still somewhere far off in the distance. It is arriving. It is in motion. It has already about been released, and what you are about to walk into is simply the moment when what heaven has already done becomes something you can touch, see, and testify about. But you need to receive this, chosen one. You need to open your hands, settle your heart, and allow the word of the Lord to penetrate past the walls of disappointment and past the fortresses of doubt that years of waiting may have built up inside of you. Because God's miracle does not force its way into a closed fist. It fills an open hand. And right now, heaven is inviting you to open yours. You carry something rare. There is a light inside of you that this world desperately needs. And that light has been tested, pressured, threatened, and attacked. Not because it was weak, but because it was powerful. Darkness does not waste its energy on dim flames. Darkness targets blazing fires. And the fact that you have been through the warfare you have been through is itself a declaration from heaven that you carry something worth fighting over. Your presence disrupts darkness. You may not always feel that way. There may be days when you feel small, forgotten, overlooked, and powerless. But feelings are not facts in the kingdom of God. The fact is that when you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. When you pray, something moves. When you speak life over a situation, the trajectory of that situation changes. You may not see it all immediately, but it is happening. And heaven wants you to understand that the assignment on your life is real, it is active, and it is absolutely unstoppable. You were built to carry glory, chosen one. You were built to be a bearer of light in the darkest places of this generation. You were built to demonstrate that the power of God is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing, world-altering force that works through yielded and willing hearts today. Right now, in your city, in your family, in your workplace, in every sphere of your influence. And it all begins with this moment. It begins with the decision you make right now to accept that you are not here by chance, that your life is not a series of random events happening to an insignificant person, and that the God who created the galaxies and calls each star by name and has a plan for your life that is so breathtaking, it would overwhelm you if heaven showed you all of it at once. He is showing you a piece of it today. Hold it carefully. It is holy. Comment the number 77 right now if you believe that heaven paused for you today. Let it be your declaration that you receive this word, that you accept your identity as a chosen one, and that you are ready to walk forward into the miracle that God has already set in motion for your life. Type 77 in the comments right now as your act of faith and agreement with what heaven is speaking over you in this moment. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are not ordinary. You are a chosen one, hand-selected by the God of all creation, and your miracle is arriving. The way has been opened, and this is only the beginning of what God is about to show you. There is something God wants you to know about the weight you have been carrying. Not the weight others can see. Not the burdens that made it onto prayer lists or became topics of conversation at the dinner table. The hidden weight. the kind that settles into your chest at 2 in the morning when the house is quiet and the rest of the world is asleep, and you are lying there in the dark with thoughts that refuse to stop and a heaviness that words have never quite been able to describe. That weight, God sees it. God has always seen it, and today He is reaching into that hidden place with the kind of tenderness that only a father who has been watching you carry far more than your share could possibly offer. You have been strong for a very long time, chosen one. You have shown up when you did not feel like up. You have smiled when your heart was breaking. You have encouraged others in seasons when no one was there to encourage you. You have prayed over situations that seemed impossible, declared faith over circumstances that felt hopeless, and kept moving forward through valleys that seemed to stretch on without any visible end. And you did it quietly, without applause, without recognition, without someone standing on the other side of your struggle, handing you a trophy for the endurance you demonstrated when no one was watching. But God was watching every single moment, every single tear. There are things you cried about that you never told another human being. There are prayers you whispered into your pillow in the dead of night that never made it past the 4 walls of your room. There are disappointments you swallowed silently because you did not want to burden anyone else, because you had already become the strong one, the faithful one, the one others leaned on, and it felt almost wrong to admit that you too were leaning, desperately and quietly leaning on a God you sometimes struggled to hear clearly. Heaven saw all of it. Not one single moment of your private anguish went unwitnessed by the eyes of the one who loves you most. And here is what God wants to say to you about every one of those moments. None of them were wasted. Not the sleepless nights, not the silent tears, not the prayers that seemed to hit the ceiling, not the years of waiting, not the relationships that ended in pain, not the opportunities that crumbled in your hands, not the dreams that were delayed so long. You began to quietly question whether they were ever real to begin with. Every single one of those experiences was being woven by a hand far more skilled than human hands into a tapestry of purpose that you are only just beginning to see the edges of. God does not waste pain in the lives of His chosen ones. He redeems it. He transforms it. He uses it as raw material for something that will one day leave you standing in awe at the wisdom of a plan that looked like disaster from inside of it. You have been misunderstood, haven't you? There have been people in your life who looked at you and could not quite make sense of you. People who underestimated you. People who dismissed you, overlooked you, or placed you in categories that never quite captured who you actually were. And that hurt. It hurt in ways that lingered long after the moments themselves had passed, because being misunderstood by people you care about cuts deeper than most wounds. There is a particular kind of loneliness in being surrounded by people and still feeling unseen, in speaking and still feeling unheard, in giving and still feeling unvalued. But what the people in your life could not see, God saw in full detail. He saw the depth of your heart, the sincerity of your motives, the purity of your desire to love and be loved, to serve and to matter, to leave something meaningful behind in the places where you walked. He saw the version of you that the limitations of human perception could not access, and He called that version chosen. He called that version beloved. He called that version purposed, assigned, and irreplaceable. You carry more than most people will ever realize, and that is not a burden, it is evidence of calling. The depth of what you carry is proportional to the depth of what you are built to release. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, and God has been filling you, even through the pain, even through the waiting, even through the seasons that felt like nothing was happening. He has been filling you with a compassion that only suffering can produce, with a wisdom that only the fire can forge, with an empathy that only the valley can cultivate. You have been in the most intensive spiritual formation of your life, and you may have experienced it as loss, but heaven experienced it as preparation. This is the part of your story where the preparation begins to reveal its purpose. There are people who need what you carry, chosen one. There are lives that will be changed by the very experiences that nearly broke you. There are individuals who will sit across from you one day, in a moment of their own crushing darkness, and the words you speak from the depth of your own journey will reach them in places that polished theology never could. Your scars are not your shame. Your scars are your testimony. And your testimony is one of the most powerful weapons in the arsenal of heaven. Every person who has ever made you feel small was unknowingly positioning you to stand in a place where your height in God would be undeniable. Every closed door that wounded you was actually redirecting your steps toward an entrance that had your name engraved on it from before you were born. Every relationship that ended in betrayal was releasing you from a connection that would have limited the fullness of what God was calling you into. This is not wishful thinking. This is the consistent pattern of how God works in the lives of the ones He has set apart. He allows the stripping so He can do the clothing. He allows the emptying so He can do the filling. He allows the waiting so that when the moment of manifestation arrives, there is no question in your mind or in the minds of those watching your life that what happened to you could only have been God. If this message is reaching something deep in you today, if these words are landing in places that feel tender and true, then this channel exists because of a community of people who believe that messages like this one matter, that chosen ones all around the world need to hear that they are seen, that they are loved, and that their miracle is not lost. If this video has brought value to your life and you feel moved to help this ministry continue, there is a support link in the description below. Every act of support is completely voluntary. And whether you are able to give or not, we are genuinely grateful that you are here, that you are listening, and that you are walking this journey with us. If this word has touched you today, consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear that God has not forgotten them. A single share could be the message that changes the entire trajectory of someone's life. Subscribe if you have not already, and leave a like so that this message can reach the ones who are waiting for it right now. You are not alone in what you are carrying. You never were. God has been beside you in every moment of the wait, and He is with you right now, saying clearly and with the full authority of heaven behind every word, "Loved, chosen one, the season of carrying alone is ending. I am here. I have always been here, and I am about to turn everything that broke you into everything that builds others." Receive that. Let it go all the way down into the deepest parts of you where the hurt lives. Let the Father speak to the hidden places. Let the God who sees all of it, every tear, every sleepless night, every silent prayer, let Him remind you today that none of it was invisible, and none of it was in vain. Your story is not over, chosen one. In fact, the most powerful chapter is just beginning. You need to understand something about the warfare you have been walking through. It was not random. It was not bad luck. It was not the universe being indifferent to your pain, or some cosmic force working against you without reason or intelligence. The warfare you have experienced, the specific battles that targeted your mind, your family, your finances, your health, your relationships, your sense of identity and purpose, all of it was calculated. All of it was strategic. And the strategy behind it reveals something about you that darkness understood long before you fully did. Darkness does not mobilize against ordinary people. Think about that for a moment. Think about the sheer intensity of what you have faced in your lifetime. Think about the layers of attack that seem to come from multiple directions at the same time. Think about the seasons when as soon as one storm settled, another one was already forming on the horizon. Think about the moments when you finally caught your breath only to have something else knock the wind out of you again. Think about the times when the opposition you faced felt so disproportionate to anything you had actually done, so outsized compared to the mistakes you had made or the sins you had committed, that it seemed almost personal. It was personal. The enemy does not waste coordinated, sustained, multi-layered attacks on lives that pose no threat to his kingdom. He reserves that kind of warfare for the ones who carry genuine authority, genuine light, and genuine potential to dismantle the works of darkness in ways that will have lasting generational consequences. He studies your assignment before you ever fully understand it yourself. And when he identifies the magnitude of what God has placed inside of you, he does not wait politely for you to step into your purpose before he begins his campaign to stop you. He begins early. Sometimes he begins in childhood, planting seeds of rejection, shame, unworthiness, and fear in the most formative seasons of your life, hoping that by the time you are old enough to discover who you really are, you will already be so buried under the accumulated weight of his lies that you will never find your way to the surface. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still seeking, still hungry for something greater than what the enemy wanted to confine you to. That is not your strength alone, chosen one. That is the preserving hand of God keeping what he called, protecting what he anointed, and sustaining what he commissioned even through seasons when you yourself were not sure you were going to make it through. The enemy knows your name in a way that should actually confirm your destiny to you. He has studied you. He has observed the gift inside of you. He has monitored the anointing that rests on your life. He has watched the way God uses you even unconsciously, the way people feel differently in your presence, the way situations shift when you pray, the way your words carry weight even when you speak them casually, and that awareness has made you a target, not a victim, a target. And there is a significant difference between those two things. A victim is defined by what happened to them. A target is defined by what the enemy was trying to prevent. And what the enemy has been trying to prevent in your life is the full emergence of a chosen one, who walks in the knowledge of who they are, who operates from the authority that God has delegated to them, and who refuses to be intimidated by the same darkness that has spent years trying to intimidate them into silence, into smallness, into a version of life that keeps them safely irrelevant to the purposes of God in the earth. He did not want you to reach this moment. He did not want you to find this clarity. He did not want the scales to fall from your eyes so that you could finally see your battles for what they truly were. Not evidence of God's abandonment, but evidence of your divine significance. Consider the specific nature of the attacks that have come against you. Has the enemy targeted your sense of identity repeatedly? Has he bombarded you with questions about whether you are really who God says you are, whether you are really loved, really chosen, really capable of the things you feel burning in your heart to do? That is not a coincidence. Identity is the first battlefield because it is the most foundational. A chosen one who does not know who they are is a chosen one who will never operate in the fullness of their authority. So the enemy begins there, in the basement of your self-perception, planting questions designed to make you doubt the very foundation of your calling before you ever get the chance to build on it. Has he attacked your relationships? Has he sent people into your life who were carefully designed to wound you in the places where your greatest gifts live? Betrayal from someone you trusted with your heart. Abandonment from someone you believed God placed in your corner. Rejection from communities that should have been safe places for your growth and expression. These were not random relational casualties. They were targeted strikes against the pillars of support that would have helped you step into your assignment more confidently and more quickly. The enemy knows that isolation weakens, that loneliness distorts, and that a chosen one who believes they are fundamentally alone is a chosen one who is far less dangerous too. His kingdom. Has he attacked your mind? Has anxiety been a companion you never invited but could never quite shake? Has fear spoken to you in the dark in a voice that sounded unnervingly like your own? Has doubt had access to your most private thoughts in ways that made you question not just your circumstances, but your fundamental worth and capability? That is warfare against the command center of your assignment. Because your mind is where your faith is either cultivated or contaminated. Where your vision is either developed or destroyed. Where the voice of God is either amplified or drowned out by the relentless noise of an enemy who understands that he cannot stop what God has decreed, but he can try to prevent you from believing it long enough to act on it. But God, those two words change everything in the vocabulary of a chosen one. But God saw every attack before it was launched. But God set boundaries around your life that the enemy could not cross without divine permission. But God used every fiery arrow that was aimed at your destruction as fuel for the flame that he was building inside of you. But God turned every weapon formed against you into a testimony of his faithfulness and a demonstration of his power to preserve what he has chosen. The book of Isaiah declares it with unmistakable clarity. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Not some weapons, not weapons from certain directions, not weapons deployed by certain enemies. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. That is not a suggestion. That is not a hopeful sentiment. That is a covenant declaration from the God who does not break his word, spoken over the life of every chosen vessel that has consecrated itself to his purposes in the earth. You have already survived things that were designed to finish you. You have already walked through fires that were supposed to consume you. You have already emerged from waters that were supposed to drown you. And you are still here, still breathing, still standing, still believing, even if your belief has been battered and bruised by the journey. That survival is not luck. That survival is the signature of divine preservation written across your life in letters that heaven can read even when you cannot. The enemy fought you this hard because you are worth fighting that hard against. Let that truth settle into every part of you that has ever felt defeated, rejected, or overlooked. The ferocity of the opposition you have faced is a direct reflection of the magnitude of the purpose God has deposited inside of you. You do not put your best soldiers against a threat that poses no danger. And the enemy has been putting his best against you, because in the archives of heaven, your name is written next to an assignment that will shake kingdoms, set captives free, and demonstrate the glory of God in ways that generations to come will still be talking about. This warfare was never about destroying you. It was always about delaying you. And the delay is over. The one who called you is faithful, and he who began a good work in you will carry it through to completion. Not because you have been perfect, not because you have never stumbled or doubted or fallen short, but because the faithfulness of God is not contingent on your performance. It is rooted in his character. And his character is unchanging, his purposes are unstoppable, and his love for you is the most powerful force in the universe. The enemy did his worst. and you are still here. Now watch what God does with that. Every door that closed in your face was an act of love. That may be the hardest sentence you have ever been asked to receive, especially if you are still standing in the rubble of something that fell apart in your hands. Especially if the memory of a specific closed door still carries a sting that has not fully faded. Especially if there are rejections in your history that left marks so deep you can still feel them on days when the light is low and the enemy is loud. But heaven is asking you today to look back at every single door that was shut against you, every opportunity that collapsed, every relationship that ended, every dream that seemed to die, and receive the truth that what felt like abandonment was actually alignment. God does not close doors carelessly. He does not redirect his chosen ones on a whim or without full knowledge of where the redirection leads. When God shuts a door in the life of someone he has chosen and set apart for a specific purpose, that closure is the result of omniscient wisdom, looking at the full picture of your life, seeing every consequence of every path, and making a deliberate sovereign decision to protect you from what you could not yet see, while simultaneously positioning you for what you were not yet ready to receive. Think about the opportunities you chased that did not come through. Think about the positions you applied for, the relationships you pursued, the doors you knocked on with everything you had, only to hear silence, or to receive a clear and painful rejection. In those moments, it felt like failure. It felt like God was withholding from you. It felt like everyone else was moving forward while you were frozen in place. Watching the doors that were supposed to open for you remain firmly and incomprehensibly shut. But what if you could see what was behind those doors? What if you could see the full picture that God saw when he made the decision to close them? What if that opportunity that did not come through would have taken you down a path that looked successful on the surface, but would have slowly drained the very essence of your calling? What if that relationship that ended before you were ready for it to end was actually a divine extraction, pulling you out of a connection that was quietly diluting your identity and diminishing the fire that God placed inside of you? What if the position that rejected you would have confined you to a ceiling that was too low for the height God was preparing you to operate in? You cannot see all of that from where you stand inside of your own story, but God sees it from outside of time itself. And the closed doors in your life were God exercising the mercy of omniscience on your behalf, saying, "Not that way, not because I do not love you, but precisely because I do, and I can see what that way leads to, and you deserve better than that." Children of Israel understood this in retrospect, even when they could not understand it in the moment. When God blocked their path in one direction, it always led to a revelation of provision and purpose in another direction that they would never have discovered if the first path had remained open. The closed doors of their journey were not punishments. They were divine GPS corrections, redirecting chosen people away from destruction and toward a destiny that was always greater than the detour felt like it was. Your detours were not dead ends. They were divine redirections, and every step of every detour was ordered by a God who does not make mistakes and does not waste the seasons of his chosen ones, not even the painful ones, not even the confusing ones, not even the ones that lasted far longer than you ever thought you could endure. There is something else the closed doors accomplish that is perhaps even more significant than the protection they provided. They developed you. The version of you that walks through the open door that God has been preparing is not the same version of you that was rejected at the closed ones. The waiting produced patience that you will need for what comes next. The rejection produced a compassion for others who are rejected that will be essential to the ministry of your life. The delay produced a hunger and a desperation for God that a smooth and easy path would never have cultivated in the same depth. You are more prepared right now than you have ever been, not because everything in your life is perfect, not because you have arrived at some flawless version of yourself that is finally worthy of what God has promised, but because the journey itself, with all of its closures and redirections and painful pauses, has been shaping you into the exact vessel that the assignment God has for you requires. You fit the purpose now in ways that you did not fit it before, not because you changed God's mind, but because God's process changed you. Chosen one, hear this with every part of your being. The door that is about to open for you is not a consolation prize for all the doors that closed. It is the destination that all the closed doors were redirecting you toward. It is the place that required the journey you took to get there. It is the fulfillment of a promise that was spoken over your life before you were born, and it is more aligned with the deepest, truest version of who you are than anything you were chasing when those other doors were closing. God's plan for you was never smaller than your plan for yourself. It has always been bigger, wider, more beautiful, more impactful, more aligned with the eternal purposes of a kingdom that does not think in terms of seasons or years or decades, but in terms of generations and legacies, and the kind of lasting fruit that remains long after the vessel through which it came has finished its earthly assignment. The rejections that almost broke you were clearing the path for an acceptance that will restore everything. The losses that left you grieving were creating space for gains that your previous capacity could not have contained. The betrayals that wounded your trust were separating you from the shallow and positioning you for the deep, for relationships and alliances and divine connections that are built on something far more solid than the shifting foundation of human convenience. Every door that closed was God saying, I have something better, not better in the way the world defines better, not simply more comfortable or more impressive or more financially rewarding, but better in the way that only eternity can define it, more aligned with your calling, more connected to your purpose, more fruit-bearing in ways that will matter when the temporary things of this life have passed away and only the eternal remains. This channel exists because we believe with our whole hearts that messages like this one reach the people who need them most at the exact moment they need them. We believe that the chosen ones who find their way to these words are not here by accident, and that every message we release is a seed that has the potential to change the trajectory of a life. If this ministry has been a source of encouragement, of strength, of renewed faith in the seasons when you needed it most, and if you feel led to help us continue carrying this word to chosen ones around the world who are still waiting for someone to tell them that God has not forgotten them, there is a support link in the description below. Everything is completely voluntary. We want to say that clearly and sincerely. We are not measuring your faith or your love for God by what you give. We are simply grateful for every person who feels moved to partner with this work. And we are equally and genuinely grateful for every person who simply shows up, listens, and lets these words do what heaven sent them to do in their life. Whether you are able to support financially or not, you are valued here, you belong here, and your presence in this community matters deeply to us because you are not just a viewer. You are part of something. You are part of a gathering of chosen ones from every corner of the earth who are waking up to who they are and what they carry, who are refusing to stay buried under the weight of closed doors and painful seasons, and who are choosing every single day to believe that the God who promised is faithful and that the best is genuinely yet to come. The doors that closed were never the end of your story. They were always only the redirection, and the direction you are being redirected toward right now is the one that has been waiting for you since before the foundation of the world. Keep walking, chosen one. The open door is right in front of you. The miracle you have been waiting for is not coming. It is already here. That is not a motivational phrase designed to make you feel better about a situation that has not yet changed. That is a spiritual reality rooted in the unchanging nature of a God who does not operate inside the limitations of time the way you do. When God releases a miracle over the life of a chosen one, it does not begin at the moment you see it with your natural eyes. It begins at the moment He speaks it. And God has already spoken over your life. The word has already gone out. The decree has already been issued from the throne room of heaven. The miracle is not pending approval. It has already been authorized, already been dispatched, and is already moving toward the moment of its visible manifestation in your life, with a momentum that nothing in the natural or spiritual realm has the power to stop. You have been praying for something. You know exactly what it is. It lives in the quietest corner of your heart, the place you visit when no one else is around. The hope you have carried so long that you have become almost afraid to speak it out loud, for fear that voicing it again will somehow make the disappointment of its not yet arriving even harder to bear. God sees that hope. He placed it there. He did not put a longing inside of you that He had no intention of fulfilling. He did not allow you to dream a dream that was designed to end in permanent disappointment. The desire itself is prophetic. The hunger itself is a signal. It points toward a reality that heaven is preparing to make tangible in your life, and the fact that the desire has survived every season of difficulty, every wave of discouragement, every whisper of the enemy telling you to let it go and accept a smaller life. That survival is evidence that it was placed there by a hand that does not plant without the intention to harvest. But God works in ways that your natural mind was not designed to fully comprehend, and one of the most disorienting of those ways is this. His greatest miracles often look most like silence just before they break open into the visible realm. The season immediately preceding a divine breakthrough is frequently the season that feels the most static, the most hopeless, the most devoid of any evidence that something is actually happening. It is the season when the voice of the enemy is loudest, when doubt speaks with its most convincing authority, when the temptation to give up on what God has promised reaches its highest intensity. And it is precisely in that season, in that uncomfortable and confusing threshold between the promise and its fulfillment, that heaven is doing its most concentrated and consequential work. Think about the seed beneath the ground. In the days before it breaks the surface of the soil and becomes visible to the human eye, it is undergoing the most dramatic transformation of its entire existence. The outer shell that protected it is being broken down. The inner life that was always there but was contained and dormant is being activated and mobilized. Root systems are being established in the dark that will be essential for the stability and fruitfulness of the plant that will eventually emerge. And none of this is visible. To the person looking at the ground from the outside, nothing appears to be happening. The soil looks exactly the same as it did the day before. There is no evidence on the surface of the profound transformation that is occurring just beneath it. But the gardener who planted the seed is not worried. The gardener who understands the nature of seeds and soil and seasons is not pacing anxiously and wondering whether anything is going to happen. The gardener knows that the appearance of stillness on the surface is not evidence that nothing is occurring beneath it. The gardener knows that the process is working exactly as it was designed to work, and that the breakthrough to the surface is not a matter of if, but of when. You are in the underground season right now, chosen one. The seed of everything God has promised you has been planted. The divine process has been initiated. The transformation is underway. What you are experiencing as silence, as waiting, as the excruciating absence of visible evidence, is actually the most productive season your promise has ever been in. Heaven is establishing root systems in your life right now that your breakthrough is going to need in order to stand firm when it comes. Heaven is doing the underground work that cannot be rushed and cannot be skipped, because a miracle that breaks the surface before its roots are established will not survive the weight of what it was sent to carry. God is not slow. He is thorough, and His thoroughness in your situation is not a sign of His reluctance to bless you. It is a sign of His intention to bless you in a way that lasts, in a way that does not collapse under pressure, in a way that produces not just a momentary relief from your circumstances, but a permanent transformation of the conditions of your life. He is not giving you a temporary fix. He is building something that will stand. And things that stand are always built more carefully and more slowly than things that are merely erected for appearance. Consider the nature of what you have been asking God for. Is it restoration of something that was taken from you? Is it healing in a place where you have carried pain for years? Is it provision in a season that has stretched your faith to its absolute limit? Is it breakthrough in a relationship that has been fractured and seemingly beyond repair? Is it a door into a purpose that you have felt burning inside of you for so long that the burning itself has become a familiar ache? Whatever it is, God not only knows it, He has been working on it, in the unseen, in the hidden, in the underground, in the places that your natural senses cannot access, but that are more real and more active than anything you can see with your physical eyes. The prophet Elijah understood this tension between the promise and the visible evidence. Standing on top of Mount Carmel after God had declared that rain was coming to end a devastating drought, Elijah did not wait passively for the clouds to appear in the sky before he began to position himself for the fulfillment of the promise. He sent his servant to look toward the sea, and when the servant returned with the report that there was nothing, not a single cloud, not a single sign of the rain that God had declared was on its way, Elijah did not receive that report as evidence that God had changed His mind. He sent his servant back again and again. 7 times the servant went and returned with nothing visible to report. And on the 7th time there appeared a cloud the size of a man's hand rising from the sea. That small cloud was the beginning of an abundance of rain. That barely visible, easy to dismiss almost insignificant sign was the harbinger of a downpour so heavy that Elijah had to warn the king to prepare his chariot before the rain stopped him from traveling. What started as something so small it could have been easily overlooked became the fulfillment of everything God had promised. Your cloud the size of a man's hand may have already appeared. There may be small signs around you right now that you have been dismissing as insignificant, as too small to count, as not the breakthrough you were expecting, and therefore not worth noticing. But heaven is asking you today to pay attention to the small things, to notice the shift in the atmosphere, to recognize the subtle movements of God's hand in the details of your daily life, because the small cloud is always the beginning of the abundance. The tiny sign is always the announcement of the downpour. The first visible movement is always the confirmation that what God declared in the heavenly realm is already in the process of breaking through into the natural one. The gears of heaven have shifted on your behalf, not because you earned it, not because your faith has been perfect or your obedience without flaw, but because God made a promise, and God cannot lie, and God does not change his mind about the people he has chosen and the plans he has set in motion over their lives. His word does not return to him empty. It accomplishes what he sent it to accomplish, and he sent it over your life with a specific assignment to bring about a miracle that will be undeniably his and unmistakably designed with your name on it. The silence you have been sitting in is not empty. It is full of the sound of heaven working on your behalf, full of the movement of divine hands arranging things you cannot yet see, full of the faithfulness of a God who does not forget his chosen ones and does not abandon his promises midway through their fulfillment. Your miracle is in motion. Heaven has opened the way, and the moment of its full, visible manifestation in your life is closer than it has ever been before. Stay ready. Stay rooted. The cloud is rising. Before the miracle fully arrives, God is asking something of you, not because he is withholding what he promised until you perform well enough to deserve it, not because his love for you is conditional on your ability to meet a spiritual standard that keeps shifting just out of your reach, but because there is a posture of the heart that positions a chosen one to receive what heaven is releasing. And that posture is not about perfection. It is about alignment. It is about the deliberate, conscious, and courageous decision to place every part of who you are into the hands of the God who made you, trusting him, not just with the parts of your life that feel safe to surrender, but with the parts that still feel fragile, the parts you have been quietly holding back, the parts where your grip has been the tightest because your fear has been the deepest. Surrender is the most misunderstood word in the vocabulary of faith. The world has taught you to associate surrender with weakness, with defeat, with the admission that you have lost and have no more options left. But in the kingdom of God, surrender is not the end of your strength. It is the beginning of his. Surrender is not the moment you give up. It is the moment you let go of what was never yours to carry and allow the one who is actually strong enough to carry it to take it from your hands. Surrender is the most powerful act available to a chosen one because it is the act that moves you out of the way of your own miracle and positions God to do in your situation what only God has the capacity to do. There is something you have been trying to control. You know what it is. There is a specific area of your life where you have been holding the reins so tightly that your hands are exhausted from the grip. It may look like planning. It may look like preparing. It may even look like wisdom from the outside. But in the quiet of your own heart, you know that what is really driving the grip is fear. Fear that if you let go, things will fall apart. Fear that if you stop managing, the situation will collapse. Fear that God's timing is not going to align with the urgency you feel in your bones about this particular thing, so you had better keep your hands on it just in case. Heaven is speaking directly to that fear today. And what heaven is saying is this: your grip is not what is holding this together. God is. Your management is not what is keeping this from collapsing. God is. Your constant monitoring and adjusting and strategizing, while not without value, is not the thing standing between you and the disaster you are afraid of. The one who spoke the universe into existence, who numbers the stars and calls them each by name, who holds every atom of creation in the palm of his hand. He is the one standing between you and the disaster you fear. And He is inviting you today to trust that enough to loosen your grip. Obedience is the second thing heaven is calling you into right now. And obedience in this context does not mean a general vague commitment to following God in the broad strokes of your life. It means something specific. There is a specific thing God has been asking you to do that you have been hesitating on. There is a specific step of faith that has been sitting in front of you, and every time you have approached it, something in you has pulled back. Maybe it is a conversation you know you need to have. Maybe it is a decision you know you need to make. Maybe it is a door you know you need to walk through, even though you cannot see clearly what is on the other side of it. Maybe it is a letting go of something that has been comfortable, even though you know that God has been calling you beyond it. Whatever that specific act of obedience is, heaven is amplifying the call today, not with condemnation, not with the voice of a disappointed God who is frustrated with your delay, but with the voice of a loving Father who sees what is waiting for you on the other side of your yes and is calling you toward it with the urgency of someone who knows what you are about to step into and cannot wait for you to experience it. The breakthrough that is coming is connected to a step of faith that you have not yet taken, and the miracle that is in motion is waiting for the moment of your obedience to find its fullest expression in your visible circumstances. Faith is the third posture that heaven is calling you into, and fits it in this season looks very specific. It does not look like having all the answers. It does not look like perfect confidence in the outcome of every situation. It does not look like the absence of doubt or fear or uncertainty. Real faith, the kind that moves mountains and opens seas and brings dry bones back to life, that faith looks like choosing to believe the Word of God over the evidence of your circumstances, even when the circumstances are loud and the Word feels quiet. It looks like declaring what God said when what you see contradicts it. It looks like thanking Him for the miracle before you can touch it, because you have decided that His Word is more real than your current reality. This is the faith that activates the supernatural, not the faith that waits until everything makes sense before it believes, but the faith that believes first and watches things begin to make sense as a result of that belief. Abraham did not wait for his body to return to youth before he believed God for a son. He believed God, and his faith was counted as righteousness, and the son came. The disciples did not wait for the water to solidify before Peter stepped out of the boat. Peter stepped out first, and the walking on water was the result of the stepping, not the prerequisite for it. God is calling you to step out right now, in the specific area where your faith has been most tested, in the exact place where the temptation to wait for more evidence before you believe has been strongest. He is calling you to make declaration before the manifestation, to give thanks before the breakthrough, to walk in the reality of what He has promised before your natural eyes have confirmed what your spirit already knows to be true. This is not blind optimism. This is covenant faith. And covenant faith is the most powerful force available to a child of God, walking in the knowledge of who they are and whose they are. There is a community of people walking exactly this journey alongside you, chosen ones from every corner of this world who are learning to surrender, learning to obey, learning to stand in faith during the underground seasons when the miracle is in motion but not yet visible. This channel exists to serve that community, to be a voice that speaks truth over the lives of the ones heaven has set apart, to remind the weary that they are not forgotten, and to strengthen the faint-hearted with the word of the Lord. If these messages have been a source of strength in your journey, if the words released through this channel have reached you in the moments when you needed them most, And if you feel genuinely led to support the continuation of this ministry, there is a link in the description below where you can partner with us. Every contribution is completely voluntary, and every amount, regardless of its size, is received with deep and sincere gratitude. We do not take for granted what it means for someone to invest in this work, and we do not take for granted what it means for you to be here. If you are not in a position to give financially right now, there are other ways to carry this message further. A like on this video tells the platform that this content matters and helps it reach someone who is waiting for exactly this word today. Sharing this with even one person in your circle could be the moment that changes the entire direction of their life. And subscribing ensures that the next word heaven releases through this channel finds its way to you the moment it arrives. You are not just receiving from this community, you are part of it. And your participation, in whatever form it takes, makes this ministry possible and makes this message reach further than it could without you. Now, return to the posture that heaven is calling you into. Surrender what you have been gripping. Take the step of obedience that you have been delaying. Choose faith over fear in the specific place where fear has been loudest. Because the miracle that is already in motion needs a yielded vessel to land in. And you, chosen one, are exactly that vessel. You are closer to your breakthrough than you have ever been. And that is precisely why the attack you are experiencing right now feels different from every attack that came before it. There is a specific kind of warfare that the enemy reserves for the final hours before a chosen one steps into the fullness of what God has prepared for them. It is not the same as the warfare of earlier seasons. It does not come with the same blunt force that characterized the battles of your past. This warfare is subtler, more sophisticated, more targeted. And if you do not recognize it for what it is, it has the potential to make you turn back from the very threshold of the miracle that heaven has been preparing for you. The enemy knows he cannot stop what God has decreed. He learned that lesson long ago. The word that has gone out over your life cannot be revoked, cannot be canceled, and cannot be overruled by any force in the natural or spiritual realm. But what he can attempt in these final hours before your breakthrough becomes fully visible is to make you stop yourself, to make you doubt yourself, to make you believe that the miracle is not really coming, that the promises you have been standing on were never really for you, that you have been fooling yourself all along, and that the wisest thing you could do right now is to quietly lower your expectations and accept a version of life that is smaller, safer, and significantly less than what God actually promised you. That is his final strategy, and you need to recognize it today. The deception he uses in this season is particularly cruel because it does not always arrive looking like an obvious lie. It arrives wearing the clothing of reason. It arrives sounding like wisdom. It arrives disguised as the mature and sensible acknowledgement of reality, the grown-up decision to let go of what looks like wishful thinking and plant your feet firmly on the ground. It whispers things like, "You have been believing for this too long. Surely if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now." It says things like, "Look at the evidence around you. Nothing has changed. What makes you think anything is going to change now?" It uses the language of practicality to talk you out of the miracle that is already in motion, convincing you to retreat from the edge of your breakthrough just moments before it arrives. Do not retreat, not now, not when you are this close. The children of Israel stood at the border of the promised land. They had survived the wilderness. They had walked through the Red Sea on dry ground. They had been fed by manna from heaven and sustained by water from a rock. They had witnessed miracle after miracle after miracle, and yet at the very border of the fulfillment of everything God had promised them, the majority of them allowed the report of the enemy to override the word of the Lord. The spies came back from Canaan with a description of a land flowing with milk and honey, confirming everything God had said about the destination. But 10 of them could not get past the size of the giants they saw living in it. And instead of measuring the giants against the greatness of their God, they measured themselves against the giants and found themselves wanting. They said, "We were like grasshoppers in our own sight." And that self-perception, that vision of themselves as small and insufficient in the face of the obstacles between them and the promise, cost an entire generation the inheritance they had journeyed toward for 40 years. Do not let the final report of the enemy steal your inheritance when you are standing at the border of its fulfillment. The giants you see between you and your breakthrough are real. The obstacles are real. The challenges are not imaginary, and heaven is not asking you to pretend they do not exist. What heaven is asking you to do is to measure them correctly, not against your own strength, your own resources, your own wisdom, or your own ability to navigate what stands between you and the promise, but against the God who parted seas and brought water from rocks and fed multitudes in the wilderness and raised the God dead and spoke the universe into existence with nothing but the sound of his voice. When you measure the giants in your life against that God, they stop looking like immovable barriers and start looking like the temporary obstacles of a defeated enemy who has already lost the war, even if he has not yet stopped fighting the battles. The enemy's final attack in this season will also target your sense of worthiness. As you approach the threshold of what God has prepared for you, the voice of unworthiness will grow louder. It will remind you of every mistake you have ever made. It will catalog every failure, every sin, every moment of weakness, every time you fell short of what you knew God was calling you to. It will present that catalog as evidence that you have disqualified yourself from the very thing you are believing God for, that the promise was for a better version of you, a more faithful version, a more consistent version, and that the version standing here right now has forfeited the right to the miracle by virtue of not being good enough to receive it. This is perhaps the most dangerous lie the enemy tells, because it sounds so spiritual. It dresses itself in the language of humility and self-awareness. But it is not humility. True humility acknowledges your own weakness and simultaneously acknowledges the grace of a God whose strength is made perfect in that weakness. What the enemy is offering is not humility, but self-condemnation. And self-condemnation is one of his most effective tools for keeping chosen ones paralyzed at the border of their inheritance. The miracle coming to you is not coming because you earned it. It was never about earning. It is coming because God is faithful, and God is gracious, and God is the redeemer of everything the enemy has stolen and everything you have lost, not just in spite of your imperfection, but often precisely through it. The very areas of your life where you feel most disqualified are frequently the areas where God chooses to demonstrate his glory most dramatically. Because when something beautiful rises out of something broken, there is no question about whose hands did the building. Your past does not disqualify you from your promise. It is part of the testimony that will make your miracle undeniably recognizable as the work of a God who specializes in the impossible and delights in the redemption of what was written off as beyond saving. There is also a specific deception the enemy deploys in these final hours that targets your relationships and your community. He will send discouraging voices. They will not always be enemies. Sometimes they will be people who genuinely love you, but who are speaking from the limitations of their own faith, their own experience, and their own inability to see what God has shown you. They will caution you with phrases that sound caring, but carry the weight of unbelief. They will encourage you towards safety at the exact moment God is calling you toward the stretch of faith that your breakthrough requires. Guard your spirit carefully in this season. Be selective about the voices you allow to speak into the most sacred places of what you are believing God for. Not because community does not matter, it matters enormously, but because not every voice in your life has the spiritual vision to speak accurately into the specific territory of promise that you are standing at the border of. Some conversations need to happen with God alone until the miracle has broken the surface and the testimony speaks for itself. Stand firm, chosen one. Recognize the final attack for what it is. Name it. Refuse it. Counter every whisper of the enemy with the specific word of God that contradicts it. When he says you are too late, declare that God's timing is perfect and the set time has come. When he says you are not enough, declare that your sufficiency is of God and not of yourself. When he says nothing is going to change, declare that you serve a God who makes all things new and who is doing a new thing in your life. Right now, even as you speak, the battle is fiercest when the victory is nearest, and the victory is very, very near. Do not turn back. Do not lower your expectations. Do not accept the smaller story. You were not brought this far to be left here. The same God who started this work in your life is the same God who is committed to its completion, and he does not abandon the work of his hands in the final hour before its fulfillment. Hold the line. Heaven is breaking through. Heaven is speaking over you right now. Not in generalities. Not in broad spiritual sentiments that could apply to anyone who happens to be listening, but specifically, personally, with the precision of a God who knows your name, knows your address, knows the number of hairs on your head, knows the exact shape of the wound you have been carrying, and knows, with perfect clarity, what you need to hear in this exact moment of your journey. What is about to be released over your life is not a generic blessing. It is a targeted, specific, personally designed prophetic declaration from the throne room of heaven, spoken over the chosen one who was brought to this moment by the sovereign hand of a God who never makes mistakes. Receive this with an open heart. Thus says the Lord over your life today. The season of mourning is ending. The tears you have cried in private, the grief you have carried quietly, the losses that left spaces in your life that nothing seemed able to fill. God is speaking directly into every one of those empty spaces today and declaring that the season of their emptiness is coming to a close. What was taken from you is being restored. Not in the same form it was lost, because God does not return things exactly as they were when. He has the ability to return them better than they were. He is a God of double portion. He is a God of beauty for ashes. He is a God who takes the broken pieces of a life and reassembles them into something more glorious than the original, something that carries the mark of divine redemption in every restored detail. Hear this word over your finances, a chosen one. The drought is ending. The season of barely enough, of stretching what you had to cover what you needed, of watching opportunities seem to pass you by while you stood in the grip of lack. That season has an expiration date, and that expiration date is now. God is opening streams in the desert of your financial life. He is releasing provision from directions you have not considered, and from sources you have not anticipated. He is bringing favor into rooms you have not yet entered, and aligning divine connections that will shift the economic reality of your life in ways that will leave you with nothing to say, but that this was the hand of God and nothing else. Hear this word over your health, chosen one. The body that has been weary, the mind that has been exhausted, the soul that has been stretched to its limit by seasons of sustained warfare. God is speaking restoration over every system, every cell, every dimension of your being that has been depleted by the journey. He is the God who heals all your diseases. He is the God who renews your strength like the eagle. He is the God who restores the years that the locusts have eaten, and the restoration He is releasing over your health is not merely a return to where you were before. It is an upgrade, a divine recalibration of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual vitality that will equip you for the new season you are entering with more energy, more clarity, and more resilience than you have felt in years. Hear this word over your family, chosen one. The divisions that have caused you heartache, the relationships within your family circle that have been strained, fractured, or broken by misunderstanding, by offense, by the accumulated weight of unhealed wounds. God is moving in those relationships right now. He is softening hearts that have been hardened. He is creating moments of divine encounter that will shift the atmosphere of conversations that have been stuck in the same painful patterns for years. He is bringing healing to generational wounds that have been passed down through your family line, and He is using you, the chosen one in your bloodline, as the agent of that healing. The prayers you have prayed over your family have not been lost. They have been building something in the spiritual realm that is about to break open into the natural and produce reconciliation, restoration, and a unity that will become one of the most powerful testimonies of your life. Hear this word over your purpose, chosen one. The gifts inside of you that have been dormant, the assignments that have been delayed, the dreams that have been deferred so long that you began to question whether they were ever real. God is breathing fresh life into every one of them today. The doors that belong to your purpose are opening. The connections that your assignment requires are being orchestrated. The platform that your gift needs to reach the people it was designed to reach is being built by hands that are not human. And the momentum that is about to come behind your purpose will be unlike anything you have experienced before, because it will not be driven by your own effort alone, but by the wind of the Holy Spirit blowing in the direction of a destiny that God Himself designed. Hear this final word spoken over every area of your life where you have been waiting. Your set time has come. The Psalms declare that God will arise and have mercy on Zion, for the set time to favor her has come. There is a set time in the economy of heaven for your miracle. Not a vague sometime in the future, not a whenever it works out, a set time. A moment that was written into the divine calendar of your life before you were born. A moment that heaven has been moving toward through every season of your journey. A moment that the enemy has been trying to prevent and has completely failed to prevent, because the set time of God cannot be delayed by the strategies of the enemy. That set time is now. And the favor of God is breaking open over your life like a sunrise that cannot be stopped and cannot be reversed. If these prophetic words landed somewhere deep and true in you today, if you felt something shift in your spirit as heaven spoke these declarations over your life, we want to hear from you. Type the words "I receive it" in the comments right now as your act of faith and agreement with what God has spoken. Let those 3 words be your declaration that you are standing in agreement with the prophetic word of the Lord over your life, that you are opening your hands to receive what heaven is, releasing and that choosing faith over fear and promise over circumstance in this moment. Type "I receive it" right now. This channel carries these prophetic words to chosen ones around the world because we believe deeply that heaven has specific things to say to specific people at specific moments, and that the right word at the right time can change the entire trajectory of a life. If this ministry has been that kind of voice in your journey, if these messages have met you in your midnight seasons and reminded you that God had not forgotten you, and if you feel genuinely and freely led to support the continuation of this work, there is a link in the description below. Every act of support is entirely voluntary and received with deep and sincere gratitude. We do not measure your love for God by what you give, and we want you to know that whether you are able to give financially or not, you are seen, you are valued, and you are genuinely loved by this community. If this word blessed you today, share it with someone who needs a prophetic declaration spoken over their life. A single share might be the moment that breaks someone out of a season of hopelessness. Leave a like to help this message reach further, and subscribe so that the next word heaven releases through this channel finds its way directly to you. You are not just a receiver of these words, chosen one. You are a carrier of them. And every time you share what God has spoken, you become an instrument through which heaven reaches one more life that was waiting to be told that they are seen, they are loved, and their miracle is arriving. The new season has already begun. Not is about to begin. Not will begin when conditions improve, or when circumstances align, or when you finally feel ready. It has already begun. The page has already turned. The chapter that was defined by waiting, by warfare, by the long and sometimes agonizing process of being prepared in the hidden place, that chapter has reached its final paragraph, and the chapter that is opening now is written in a completely different ink. It is written in the ink of favor, in the ink of overflow, in the ink of divine acceleration that compresses what would normally take years into seasons, and what would normally take seasons into days. Because the God who is moving on your behalf right now is not limited by the pace of natural processes or the timelines that human effort operates within. You are entering a season of suddenlies. The word suddenly appears throughout the scriptures at the most pivotal moments in the lives of chosen vessels. Suddenly, the prison doors were opened. Suddenly, the fire of God fell. Suddenly, the sound of a mighty rushing wind filled the upper room. Suddenly, the walls came down. Suddenly, the Red Sea parted. Suddenly, the stone was rolled away. These were not gradual, incremental improvements in difficult situations. They were divine interruptions of the natural order. Moments when the God of heaven reached into the timeline of human experience and did in an instant what no amount of human effort could have accomplished in a lifetime. The suddenly of God does not build slowly toward a crescendo. It breaks in without warning and changes everything in a moment. And you, chosen one, are standing at the threshold of your suddenly. The prayers that seemed unanswered are about to be answered all at once, in a convergence of fulfillment that will make it clear that God was working on multiple fronts simultaneously. During the season, when everything appeared still, the connections that seemed impossible are about to materialize in ways that will feel almost surreal in their precision and their timing. The doors that have been closed are about to swing open with a speed and a completeness that will leave you breathless. Because when God opens a door, no man can shut it. And when God moves in your situation, there is no force in heaven or earth that can slow the momentum of what He has released. This is the season where you stop explaining away the good things that happen to you. There is a habit that chosen ones develop during long seasons of difficulty, and it is the habit of minimizing the good when it begins to appear. When a small blessing arrives, instead of receiving it as the first fruit of a harvest, you qualify it. You remind yourself not to get too excited. You prepare yourself for the disappointment that previous seasons have trained you to anticipate. You hold the good thing at arm's length because you have been burned before by hope that rose and then crashed. And the self-protective instinct you developed in the fire of those disappointments is still running in the background of your heart, trying to keep you safe from being hurt again. But heaven is asking you to dismantle that self-protective mechanism today. Not recklessly, not naively, but with the deliberate courage of a chosen one who has decided that the goodness of God is trustworthy, that the promises of God are reliable, and that the season of bracing for disappointment is over because the season of receiving what God has prepared is now here. Every good thing that comes to you in this new season is not a fluke. It is not coincidence. It is not luck. It is the hand of God delivering on a promise that was made before the foundation of the world. And it deserves to be received with open hands, a grateful heart, and the full-bodied joy of someone who recognizes the fingerprints of heaven on the gifts arriving at their door. The new season brings with it a new identity expression. There are parts of who you are that were suppressed during the difficult seasons, gifts that were dormant, aspects of your personality and your calling that were quieted by the weight of what you were carrying. In this new season, those parts of you are being reawakened. God is calling forward the version of you that the enemy tried to bury under years of warfare and waiting. He is calling forward your voice, your creativity, your boldness, your joy, your generosity, your vision, the fullness of the chosen one that he designed you to be before the world and its difficulties began the long process of making you smaller than you were created to be. You are going to surprise people in this season. People who thought they had you figured out, who had placed you in a category of limitation based on what they observed during your difficult seasons, are going to encounter a version of you that they did not see coming. Not because you are performing a new version of yourself for their benefit, but because the authentic, unrestricted, fully awakened chosen one that God always designed you to be is finally stepping into the light without apology and without restraint, and the effect of that emergence on the people around you is going to be undeniable. This new season also carries with it a new level of divine connection. God is bringing people into your life who are aligned with your purpose, who carry what complements what you carry, who see in you what you sometimes struggle to see in yourself, and who are moving in the same direction that heaven has assigned you to move in. These are not casual acquaintances. They are covenant connections, strategically placed by a God who understands that no chosen one fulfills their full assignment in isolation, that the greatest expressions of kingdom purpose are always accomplished in community, in partnership, in the beautiful synergy of individuals who each carry a piece of something that only fits together completely when they are walking in alignment with one another. Be open to the new faces that appear in your life in this season. Not everyone who is coming is someone you would have expected or someone who fits the profile of the kinds of connections you have sought in the past. Some of your most significant divine appointments in this new chapter will arrive in unexpected packaging, through circumstances that seem coincidental, through introductions that seem accidental, through encounters that seem random, but that are in reality the precise orchestration of a God who has been arranging these connections for years and is releasing them into your life now. Because the season has finally arrived when you are ready to receive them, and they are ready to receive you. The new season also carries a new level of spiritual authority. The battles you have fought and won, the warfare you have survived, the faith you have maintained through the fires of your most difficult seasons, all of it has produced in you a depth of spiritual authority that you did not carry before you went through what you went through. Authority in the kingdom of God is not given. It is developed. It is forged in the fires of real warfare, real faith, real surrender, and real perseverance. And what has been forged in you through the journey you have taken is a level of authority that is now being recognized in the spiritual realm. An authority that makes your prayers more effective, your declarations more powerful, and your presence in any situation a demonstration of the kingdom of God in ways that will produce visible and lasting fruit. You are not the same person who entered the last season. That person was already chosen. That person was already loved. That person was already significant and valuable and irreplaceable in the heart of God. But the season you are emerging from has added layers to who you are. Layers of depth, of compassion, of wisdom, of unshakable faith that can only come from having stood in the fire and refused to burn. Those layers are not weight anymore. In this new season, they are wings. They are the very things that will enable you to fly at altitudes that your previous self could not have reached, to impact lives at a depth that your previous capacity could not have touched, and to carry the glory of God into spaces that were waiting specifically for someone who had been through exactly what you have been through. The chapter of lack is closing. The chapter of pain is closing. The chapter of barely surviving and wondering whether you were going to make it through is closing. And the chapter that is opening is one that you are going to want to read slowly, because it is full of things that eye has not seen and ear has not heard, things that God has prepared for those who love Him and have held on to His hand through every storm, every wilderness, every valley, and every midnight hour of their journey. This new season is not a reward for your performance. It is a demonstration of His faithfulness, and His faithfulness, chosen one, never fails. The new season has already begun. Walk into it with your head lifted high, your hands open wide, and your heart fully awake to the goodness of a God who has been working all things together for your good since before you were born. Everything is about to change, and every change is going to be good. You have arrived at the moment heaven has been preparing you for. Not the end of a video, not the conclusion of a message, but a genuine threshold moment in the story of your life, a pivotal point of arrival that marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of everything that God has been building toward in every season you have walked through, in every fire you survived, in every valley you crossed, in every midnight hour you endured, when the only thing keeping you moving forward was a faith that refused to die, even when everything around it was trying to convince it to. You made it, chosen one. You are still here, and your being here is not a small thing. Think for a moment about everything that tried to stop you from reaching this point. Think about the warfare that was launched against your mind, your body, your faith, your sense of identity and purpose. Think about the seasons when giving up would have been the easier choice, when lowering your expectations would have felt like wisdom, when accepting a smaller and safer version of life would have seemed like the mature and reasonable thing to do. Think about the voices that told you the miracle was not coming, that the promise was not real, that you had been fooling yourself all along. And then think about the fact that you are still here, still believing, still standing, still reaching for the fullness of what God placed in your heart before you were ever born. That is not ordinary. That is the mark of a chosen one. The road that brought you to this moment was not wasted. Not a single step of it. Not the detours, not the delays, not the painful redirections, not the seasons of silence. Not the battles that left you exhausted and wondering what you were still fighting for. Every single step of the journey that brought you to this threshold was purposed, was ordered, and was overseen by a God who does not let his chosen ones wander without direction, even when the direction is invisible to their natural eyes. You were guided here. You were guided through every wilderness season. You were guided through every closed door and every redirection. You were guided through every attack of the enemy and every moment of your own doubt and weakness. And the hand that guided you here is the same hand that is about to guide you into everything that comes next. Step forward, chosen one. Step forward with your whole heart, not with the hesitations of someone who has been burned too many times to fully trust the good that is coming. Not with the self-protective half-step of someone who wants the miracle, but is afraid to want it too much in case it does not materialize. But with the bold, unashamed, full-bodied forward movement of someone who has decided once and for all that the God who brought them this far is not going to drop them at the finish line, that the faithfulness that sustained them through the hardest seasons of their life is the same faithfulness that is going to carry them into the fullness of their promised inheritance. Step forward with the knowledge that you are not going alone. The God who called you is the God who goes before you, who stands behind you, who walks beside you, and who dwells within you. You are not stepping into the new season as an unprotected, unsupported individual, navigating an uncertain future by the strength of your own resolve. You are stepping forward as a chosen one, covered by the blood of the covenant, sealed by the promise of a God who cannot lie, equipped with every spiritual gift and authority you need for every assignment that awaits you, and accompanied by a presence that is more powerful than anything you will ever face on the road ahead. The crown that belongs to your life is not something you have to earn in the new season. It is something you have already been given. The anointing that rests on your life is not a future possibility. It is a present reality. The authority that heaven has delegated to you is not waiting for you to become more deserving of it. It is active right now, available right now, and powerful enough right now to change every situation it touches, to shift every atmosphere it enters, and to bring the kingdom of God to bear on every circumstance of your daily life, in ways that will produce fruit that remains long after the moment of breakthrough has passed. Carry your crown into the new season, chosen one. Wear it not with arrogance, but with the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who knows who placed it on their head and why. Carry your anointing without apology. Use your authority without timidity. Speak the word of the Lord over your life, over your family, over your circumstances, and over the lives of the people God has placed in your sphere of influence. And watch what happens when a chosen one who knows who they are begins to operate in the fullness of what God has actually given them. The miracle that was declared over your life from the beginning of this message is real. It is arriving. The way has been opened by the God who opens doors that no man can shut. The obstacles that stood between you and the fulfillment of what God has promised are being removed by the same sovereign hand that parted the Red Sea and brought water from a rock and raised Lazarus from the tomb after 4 days. Your situation is not too complicated for God. Your delay has not been too long for God. Your wounds have not been too deep for God. And your miracle has not been too much for God. Because nothing is too much for a God to whom all things are possible. Receive it, declare it, walk in it, and let your life become the testimony that reaches the next chosen one who is still in their wilderness season, still in their midnight hour, still in the underground place where the miracle is in motion but not yet visible, and who needs to see the evidence of someone who held on, who kept believing, and who stepped into the fullness of everything God promised them. and found it to be more beautiful than anything they could have imagined in their most faith-filled moments. Your story is not just for you, it never was. The miracle coming to your life carries within it the seeds of someone else's faith, someone else's hope, someone else's decision to keep going when everything in them wanted to stop. The testimony you are about to carry is a weapon in the hands of a God who is using the lives of his chosen ones to reach a generation that is desperately hungry for evidence that God is still real, still active, still personal, and still in the business of doing the impossible in the lives of ordinary people who said yes to an extraordinary calling. Before we close this message, there is something I want to share with you from the heart. This channel exists purely out of a desire to serve you, to carry the word of the Lord to chosen ones around the world who need to be reminded of who they are and what God has prepared for them. I want to be transparent with you about something. This channel has had its monetization turned off by YouTube, which means these videos generate no advertising income at all. But I made the decision to keep going, to keep releasing these messages because I believe with everything in me that this ministry matters, and that the chosen ones who find their way to these words need them. And that is more important to me than any financial consideration. Everything I do here, every word written, every message prepared and released, is done purely as an act of ministry and love for this community. If these messages have been a source of strength, healing, encouragement, or renewed faith in your journey, and if you feel genuinely and freely moved to support the continuation of this work, I have placed a donation link in the description below and in the pinned comment on this video. Every contribution, regardless of its size, goes directly toward keeping this ministry alive and reaching more chosen ones who are waiting for a word from heaven. Everything is completely voluntary. There is absolutely no obligation. And whether you are able to give or not, I want you to know that your presence here means everything. You being here, listening, and walking this journey with this community is itself a gift that I do not take for granted. If this message has spoken to you today, please share it with someone who needs to hear that God has not forgotten them and that their miracle is arriving. A single share could be the lifeline that someone is desperately reaching for right now. Leave a like to help this word reach further. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do, so that every future message finds its way directly to you the moment it is released. You are loved here, chosen one. You are seen here. You are celebrated here. And heaven is celebrating you too. The one who held on, who kept believing, who refused to let go of the hand of God even when the journey was hard and the night was long. Your miracle is arriving. God has opened the way. And you, beloved chosen one, were always meant to walk through it.